Cool. Track 6 is called All or Nothing. I like the contrast between the first way that he says, it might be the way that you're always staring at me if I stay or if I go and risk everything. The way he says it the first time versus the second and third time, it grows every time he says it. And I think, like, the energy of the song. Like, the first time it's mellow, and then it builds up into the second verse. And then it doesn't quite give us, like, the big drop until, like, the second chorus, where it's, like, the biggest one is that 2 minutes, 45 seconds when he's like, it might be the way that you're always staring at me if I stay or if I go and risk everything. I really like in the last one when the drums, like, that was I just like the way that they set up each of those. They didn't give us the same thing every time. They made it different and then bigger every time. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, like contrasting what they did in one of their other songs I mentioned. I forget which song it was, but you mentioned how the drums go into halftime for one of the songs we already talked about. But this one does the opposite, where it's basically slow for all the choruses, but then the very last chorus, they double time, where the snare's hitting twice as often, and so it has a little bit more energy, a little bit more drive to it. And so, yeah, interesting how you can, just a contrast with that, where whether you make the drums half as fast or twice as fast, it'll give you that kind of same effect of that extra oomph. Yeah, this song is a little bit more ballady. Obviously, there's like more clean guitars, and it's a little bit quieter and stuff like that. But I do really like the power of the chorus, even though I don't have this song on my playlist or anything, so I don't really listen to it a ton. But it is really good setup of arrangement, and just how powerful the choruses come in, and the slowness of it, I think, kind of contributes to that, which is also why the very last chorus is really cool, because it kicks it up and the drums play twice as fast, and so it gives it a little more energy. So yeah, not my typical go-to kind of song when it comes to the pop-punk type stuff, but this one was done very well, so yeah. I'll give him that.
Track 7 is called Shape Up. I didn't really have anything to say with this track, other than I really like the message of the song. Specifically, just like basically just him saying shape up and stand tall. I've always really liked. I have like this vivid memory of listening to this song in high school. I was walking to one of my classes, and I was walking like up the stairs. I remember exactly where I was, but like I heard the word shape up and stand tall, and it just like hit me, and it was just like really cool. I really like this song. I don't have anything like against it. I just don't like have much to say about it. I think it's a good song, but.
Yeah, I actually really like this song. This is another one I know how to play on drums, and it makes me laugh because this one starts off with a little drum intro, but every time I would play along with it, I would always like miss it because it comes in right at the beginning, so I'd have to like hit the play button on my phone and then like immediately try and start playing and time it right. So I always remember it's always funny. But this one has a really sick drum fill leading into each chorus, and then also one part of the outro or whatever. It doesn't sound crazy. It's definitely like a little bit fancy, but it's nothing like totally insane. But it's very, very fun to play. Just like physically, the way you have to hit all the different notes in the order is actually really addicting. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to learn how to play this song. Because when I heard that, I tried it and I was like, ooh, like that's really sick. So I ended up learning how to play the whole song on drums. Overall, this one has a lot of really good energy. I really like the verses, how they're pretty upbeat and the guitars really drive it in. There's a lot of good things from a rhythmic point of view from this song. I really like the second half of the verses when the guitars kick in a little bit more with the drums instead of just doing the constant notes during the first halves. And then the second half, it stops where it only plays with the bass drum basically and just gives it that extra punch. Really, really cool arrangement. But yeah, I really like this song. It's also surprising because this one is also one of the lower-ish streamed ones. This one doesn't have quite as many listens or streams as some of the other ones do, which is always surprising because for me, all the ones that I really, really love and resonate with are like always the not super mainstream ones, which is really interesting to me because I feel like I like the more like upbeat, energetic, like high energy ones. And those ones aren't always the ones that are like the most popular, which is always surprising to me. Not just with State Chance, but with a lot of different bands. I'll be like, wow, like this is easily like the best song on the album. And then I'll like see on the streams, I'm like, wow, this is like not even close to the most listened song. Like nobody likes this song.
Yeah.
But anyway, this song, yeah, really, really good energy. I really like the drum parts throughout. It's just got really good energy, specifically through the verses are really good. So that's what I've got there.
Track 8 is called Back and Forth. I did not notice this until I listened to it again. it goes throughout the song, but I noticed it at the beginning of the song. There's this droning guitar that's going back and forth in between each like speaker, and I thought that was like, I assume they must have done that on purpose, naming the song Back and Forth and having like this sound go back and forth in between your ears. And I thought that was like so cool. Like I when I heard that, I was like, whoa, it's going back and forth. Like it was just so cool. Oh, the lyrics. I really like the lyrics in this song. Hunter and I were talking about this concept with a different State Champ song where we really like how when stories or lyrics like resolve themselves or change over the course of the song. And this is one of those moments when he says, just don't grow too reliant on me because I'm not the person I want to be. He says that a couple or a few times throughout. And then the last one he says is, I hope your tears are drying on me because now I'm the person I want to be. And I've always loved the resolution of that and just like going from a place of, I guess specifically with this song, not being like who you want to be, but then, it changes to now I'm the person I want to be. And I like when lyrics do that, not keeping it the same thing throughout, like the same message, but changing it by the end. I think that was really cool.
Yeah, I like that point as well when they change the lyrics. That reminds me of another song by Chunk No Captain Chunk where it's the opposite though. So in the beginning, the intro lines, he's talking about how he's never given up. He's what does he say? Something to the effect of he's counting on his luck and like he's like upbeat and like really positive. And then it plays to the chorus. And then the second verse, like after he's like positive and like upbeat and happy, he realizes that like life is like beating him down, and then he reverses the lyrics where he says like, lately I've been running out of luck, and like kind of just basically mirrors the first verse, but in a negative way of like, oh man, like I used to be so upbeat and happy, but now like life happened and all these bad things, and so now I'm down on my luck, and just kind of that mirroring I think is kind of cool. But anyway, back to this song, kind of like what you were saying with the second half, or rather the last chorus, the lyrics kind of flipping and being a little bit different. I also really like the last part of the chorus, or at least in the last chorus, when the drums and the guitars all punch in together. They kind of break the normal rhythm of the chorus, and it hits with more power basically. So normally the drums are going like boom ka boom boom ka boom ka boom ka or whatever, but then in the part when it all punches in together, it goes like boom ka boom boom ka boom 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 ka, and so like that constant bass hitting with the guitar slamming in on each of those bass notes just gives it a lot of extra punch and power, which that part always really stands out to me. And I also just really like the chorus in general. It's overall got good energy and is positive and it's fun.
Track 9 is the title track of the album, called Around the World and Back. And this one features, her name's Ansley Newman from Jewel Vera, I think is how you say the band name. I don't think they're a band anymore, but I listened to her music because I looked her up from this song, and I actually do like a lot of their earlier stuff. They kind of went to like this bubblegum pop type of a vibe that I was like, okay, that was weird, but their older stuff was really good. Hunter and I sang this song so much in high school. Like, he'd always bring his guitar to school, and that was just like one that we would always sing together, like in the hall or like at the seminary building, like waiting to get picked up or whatever. And like looking back, I'm like, wow, that's so cringe. Like, just those two kids with a guitar singing songs. Like, this is just one we always did though, because the chords were easy and it was a duet, and so. I mean, we would get, like, compliments and stuff, and people would, like listening, but I'm just like, bruh, why did we do that?
Bruh.
Yeah, but I really like this song. I don't have, like, any specific things to say. I do like the fact that it's just, like, a mellow acoustic track, and that it does have the two vocals in it. At first, I was almost wondering why they didn't close with this track, since it is the album title, and it just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it is kind of a good wrap-up. And then I kept listening to the next two songs after it, and I was like, oh, Tooth and Nail kind of is like a good closing song. I don't know, I would have to like go through again and listen to it lyrically, because I know there's like that theme of going on tour and like, being around the world and back. I just thought it was interesting. I don't know, I feel like this kind of would be like a good closing song, despite it being like mellow and stuff. But anyway,
yeah, this is a song that I didn't learn how to play it when it came out, but I learned it like years later. how to play it on acoustic guitar, and it's really fun to play. It's nice too, just because it's most songs when they're on acoustic, if they're played in the key of E, which I believe this one is, it's really easy to play all the different chords, specifically when you're using not the low E string, but you're playing on the A string for some like the A chords and B chords and stuff like that. It's basically really easy to play, and you can like play the bottom two strings open, and so it always sounds really good. And anyway, so I really like this song for that reason, because when it's played in that key, it's really easy to make everything sound nice and full, just based on how the tuning of the guitars and everything. But this one is also very impressive, I think, from the harmony of the vocals. Is obviously, because it's a duet, they're obviously going to be crazy with the harmonies and stuff and bouncing off each other. But as I was listening to this one recently, I was like, oh wow, like yeah, the harmonies on this one are really crazy, and they sound really, really good. That was my main point, is the vocal harmonies really stood out to me, which obviously kind of makes sense for a song like this, where there's not a bunch of other instruments. It's mostly just the light chimey stuff in the background with the acoustic guitar, and maybe some of the more orchestral stuff as it gets to the bigger choruses or whatever. But yeah, I really like the harmonies on this one. It was really solid.
Track 10 is called Breaking Ground. I think this is the only song with a guitar solo. I just noticed that. I don't know if they do that very often, and I feel like they did. I feel like there's a handful of guitar solos in their earlier stuff, like in the Finer Things. But this was like the only track that I like recognized that there was like an actual like space for just the guitar. I really like the line, "So let's start this over, but where do we begin?" He says that a lot throughout the song, and I like that concept of like wanting to start something over, but like not knowing how, and like there's something that you want, but you don't know how to get there. And I don't know, I really liked that concept. And then it like does kind of tie into the title of Breaking Ground, which is cool. I also really like in the bridge when everything kind of goes quieter and he says, "Can I tell you how I'm feeling without making a sound?" I liked the romance associated with that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add on this one. I typically don't listen, at least as much, to more the like minor-y sounding songs. I usually am more drawn to the more upbeat, major key type songs. So this one is a little bit more of a darker sound, and is not quite as like upbeat and like poppy or whatever. So I don't listen to this song a ton. I don't necessarily resonate with it as much as some of the other ones. But I did think it was interesting how you mentioned, I didn't notice it until you said about how this was like the only one with a guitar solo on this album, which I think is right. It's fairly simple. Now that I think about it, it would be kind of an easy one to learn for anybody who's playing guitar, which is pretty nice. Yeah, I don't listen to the song a ton. I actually do have it on my playlist, but I think I end up skipping it most of the time just because I'm more into the major upbeat ones as opposed to, again, this one's more minor, a little bit darker, kind of slower vibe, sort of. So I don't really have anything super noteworthy for this one.
The last track is called Tooth and Nail. I only really had like 2 points with this one, and I just really liked the line, "I always wanted to be somebody that makes everybody feel like somebody." I don't really have any thoughts on that. I don't know why I said that, but I just like it. But 207, there's this cute little like there's this like vocal isolation that gives me like barbershop quartet vibes. It's not exactly like that, but let's see.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize that cool little bass in the background too. That was cool. Yeah, I've always liked that little. It's not a breakdown, but like it's quite the opposite of a breakdown. But it just kind of slows down, I guess, is what I mean.
Like that little interlude moment.
Yeah,
sort of
there
thing.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I like, where right after that, pretty much for any song, it's like one of the most basic ways to like make a kind of a drop, sort of. But I always am a big fan of the double like chunka, and then it cuts out, and then it comes in.
Yeah.
So right when he's done with the little "I'm running away from you," but then like right as he's singing that, it goes chunka.
Yeah.
It cuts out for that second. I really like it when songs do that. Just that super simple double chug thing, and it all cuts out for a second and drops in, is always super, super solid in my opinion. And it's nice because it's super easy to play, and it's not fancy or anything, but it just is really fun to kick back in, and if you're headbanging to it or whatever, it's always a good section. So I really like that. And I also just like the overall vibe of the song. It's actually a lot better than I remember it I feel like I don't listen to this one as much. It's not one of my go-tos, but it actually is really solid overall. I really like the chorus and just some of the parts in the second verse, I think, or at least the second half of the verses are also really good. Just the way the instruments all are kicking in and everything. So this one, I actually like this one more than I show. Like, I don't listen to the song all the time. Like I said, it's not one of my go-tos, but it's actually really, really good.
There's the 2 songs on the deluxe, Hurry Up and Wait and Slow Burn.
Yeah.
Remember
yeah,
those
I
ones?
love both of those songs.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know when they came out in relation, like, I don't know when the deluxe came out in relation to, like, the first album that was released.
Mm-hmm.
But I
It was 2
remember,
years.
it was? What?
Yeah, so it came out May 5th, 2017.
Oh, wow. Oh, actually, that checks out, because that's kind of, I just remember loving Slow Burn when it came out.
Yeah, I really like the chorus of Slow Burn. Even though this is a little bit more of a slower paced song compared to some of the other ones, I actually still really like this one. And then Hurry Up and Wait, I actually also learned how to play this one on drums. It's really fun. It's got a couple of different parts that are really fun to play. And I also just like the overall pace of the song when it comes to like the chorus and everything. I think it's a really fun song overall. And the kind of the bridge has like not really a breakdown, but it's kind of like a half breakdown where everything cuts out except for a little lead guitar part and the drums. And then it slowly builds up into like this more kind of headbangy breakdown-ish type thing, which is really cool. I really like that part of the song, just that whole bridge section. And then it also has a really sick drum fill leading into the outro when everything cuts out and you just hear the vocals. There's a really cool drum fill leading into that part that sounds really awesome. And yeah, overall, I think that song is actually a really, really solid bonus track song.
Yeah.
It is like one of the least streamed from this album, at least, according to Spotify, which is really unfortunate because it's actually better than, in my opinion, some of their actual songs on the normal album. So I'm surprised that this one didn't catch on as much.
Yeah.
But I guess because it's released later, obviously, so it hasn't had as much time to get played. But still, I think that one's definitely one of the highlights. But those are my thoughts on those 2.
I agree that those 2 songs I feel like are better than some of the songs on the album.
Mm-hmm.
Disforge. I would probably give this album, I don't know, I feel like a 7's too low, but like, I don't know. I don't want it to be like super high and mighty, but I don't know. Probably like a 7 or an 8.
If I'm going based on like the amount of songs that I actually like and versus like the amount of ones that I would skip or don't like as much, I would give this one probably closer to like a 6. But that sounds kind of unfair because the ones that I do like, I really, really like. Like, for example, Eyes Closed is really, really awesome. All You Are Is History is really, really solid. Hurry Up and Wait, the bonus one, is really, really good. So, like, the ones that I like, I definitely really, really like. But then there's a lot of them that are a little bit slower. Again, just for my personal taste, they're not bad or anything, but I'm just more into the upbeat, happy, faster-paced ones. And there's not quite as many on this album as I remember. There's definitely more slower songs than I remembered when I went through a list, and I was like, wow, there's like 3 or 4 of these that are like almost slower paced than some normal ones. But overall, I still think the album is really, really solid. I think I like some of their other albums more than this one, which is weird because even though this album is really good, this is probably one of my least favorite albums from them. Not because anything about it is really bad necessarily, but this isn't. If I had to pick one album to listen to from State Champs, it probably wouldn't be this one.
Yeah.
Which again, it sounds really harsh when I frame it that light, but like the songs that hit definitely hit. But then other than that, it's like it's good overall.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which one would you say would you want?
It would be a tie. Part of me wants to say The Finer Things. That album is one of the main albums that like got me into pop punk as well. That was like one of the first, like one of my first discoveries, other than 4 Years Strong. Was like I loved when I found that album. I listened to it a bunch of different times, like trying to figure out if I liked it, because this was still during the period where I was trying to figure out what music I liked. And, it's like when I had my first iPod and I could listen to whatever I want all the time.
Right.
But it would probably be The Finer Things or their most recent one, actually, Kings of the New Age. That one
I was thinking that
has a lot of songs that I like. I would have to do like full play, like listen throughs of all of them. So I might lean more towards The Finer Things. Would probably be, if I had to listen to one State Champs album, it would probably be that one. And then probably Kings of the New Age would be second. But it's tough because, like I said, there's no one album, almost any album that I listen to. There's not, I don't think, one album where I'm absolutely in love with every single song. Like, there's always one or two that, for me, are a little bit of a miss. But then the ones that I really do like, if I could compile all those into one album, that would be great. But...
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, State Champs is not one of those bands for me that I can just pick an album and listen to it all the way through and like love the whole thing. I mean, and that's not like bad or anything, because like there's so much music out there. People just don't listen to albums front to back as much, I guess. So
yeah, like I said, this was one of the first albums that was like actually new to me from a band that I knew, at least from what I can remember. This came out right when I was going into college, my first year, right after I graduated. So there were still a few albums that came out, I'm sure, that I listened to. Like probably there's definitely one by Vera that came out, and probably one or two others. But this is the one I definitely remember like listening to, like, oh yeah, like a new album. So I have memories of this one for sure. After graduating high school, listening to this one a bunch, which is weird because it feels like this came out while I was still in high school. Like it doesn't seem like I graduated the same year that this came out, which is kind of bizarre. But
sweet. That's all for this time. Catch you guys on the next.